welcome to the third game of the evening, The Forgotten City. All right, so The Forgotten City is a mystery adventure game of exploration and deduction. This is a remake, reimagining, however you want to define it, of a fairly notable Skyrim mod that was created like about 10 years ago.
But they've taken all of the Elder Scrolls lore and replaced it with real-world Roman lore and related.
Yeah. Anyway, travel 2,000 years into the past to relive the final days of a cursed Roman city, where if one person sins, everyone dies. Combat is an option, but violence will only get you so far. Only by questioning an entwined community of colorful characters, cleverly exploiting the time loop, and making difficult moral choices can you hope to solve this epic mystery. Here your decisions matter. The fate of the city is in your hands. Or rather, it's in the hands of the Gallic, since he was given the code.
So. And I did not get that far through this game, but I have had certain amounts of experience with it before. I've watched a full playthrough and have read about it because I thought it was cool when I saw it. So yeah, you are a guy who wakes up getting pulled out of after getting pulled out of a river by a lady who tells you to go into that temple and look for a guy named Al for her, and then she'll take you back to town because she has a boat. You find Al pretty quickly after a point of no return. He seems to have committed suicide because of something about a door to the past. Which you go through because you don't have any way to get back. And you end up in a Roman city where you have to figure out the fuck is going on and try to find a way out, which no one knows the way out. So yeah, you can kind of tell that this is originally based on an Elder Scroll thing. It's still very first person. When you're talking to someone, you go into a just face on with them with dialogue trees, and as alluded to from the original text, there is not a lot of in fact, while one of the first or the second question, I think the lady asks you at the beginning lets you determine your character class, and one of those is soldier, and when you tick soldier you get to start with a gun and 10 bullets, but the gun and 10 bullets are mostly just a way to fucking start the time loop over first, because in almost any circumstance shooting anyone or like thing that anyone cares about will trigger the everyone dies thing, which happens to. So the city has a lot of golden statues all over it, and the law is called the Golden Rule because the thing involves the statues all coming to life and killing everybody with golden arrows, or just by ripping them apart. And then they turn to gold. This is also, it's the literal Golden Rule. I don't think that's too much spoilers. Where the sin is doing something to someone that you wouldn't want them to do to you.
Do unto others before they do unto you.
Anyway, so later, a significant way through the game, you get access to a golden bow, which works the same way as the statues in that it can turn things to gold. But again, using that on people will generally be bad, but you can like use it on vines when you do that to make them able to support your weight. Or you could use it on some of the statues that are not entirely gold that will attack you if you go into certain areas. But that's about it. Overall, it's structured as a mystery, and most of the gameplay is going to be dialogue and trying to solve various problems in order to get plaques or things to reassemble an obelisk, and also to, I mean, you're in the last day of the city. This isn't that big of a spoilers. I think they said it. where no matter what, at some time during the day, something is going to happen that's going to cause everyone to die, and you have to run back into the door to the past, because otherwise you will also die. So you have to replay the same thing over and over again. Though, unlike some time travel things where you are trying to come up with a perfect thing where you can do everything in one day, the first guy you meet is very helpful and bored and willing to listen to newcomers. So once you know that something needs to be done on a later route, you can tell him to do it. So that's somewhat convenient. I can't really go too much more into the plot because it's a mystery, so pretty much all of it is spoilers, and it's actually really well written. The graphics look a little bit, I mean, they look kind of Elder Scrolls-y in that it's not quite 100% realistic. It looks a little bit off. But the voice acting, so far as I've seen it, is actually pretty good, although when they use Latin or other languages, they often pronounce it slightly more of an English way. For example, I'm pretty sure I heard salve and not salve. But, you know, they do their best and the acting is pretty good, so I don't hold that too much against them. The graphics are actually pretty nice. And the environmental design is actually really good for it to be a town, pretty much just one town in a huge underground vault. Though there are some hidden areas also. It's an interesting and attractive enough area to spend some time in, and it's generally, the areas look different enough that you're not going to get lost, you know, by confusing where you are. Let's see, what else have I not talked about? I know, yeah, overall, I think this is it's definitely, you can see why this is a game that was able to transcend being a mod for another game and become its own game. And it gives you some really interesting opportunity. Like, you can actually comment on, since these people live by Roman society and stuff, you can like comment on the way they do things because you're a guy from the modern age and have opinions about that, and they will like debate you back. The characters are interesting and I think pretty memorable, although again, what's memorable about most of them is spoilers, so so even though this is a game that is not, I don't generally go big into first person explory stuffs. I didn't even have too much trouble mouse and keyboarding this because mostly you're just walking and I mean, the combat, it's a little bit trickier because, again, even when it was a Skyrim mod, combat was never been the best part of any Elder Scrolls game from what I've heard. But you're going to be talking to people and trying to find items and read things to get information. It has a log that keeps track of what quests and objectives you found, and there's a waypoint system that you can turn off, but you can also turn on if you think you might get lost, which is useful. But yeah, except when you get the bow and you need to use that for stuff, you're not going to be doing much fighting generally because, you know, that'll generally trigger the time loop unless you want to trigger it early. The other backgrounds besides the soldier that gives you a gun are, you can have no memory of why you're there, in which case you're tougher. You can be a historian who is interested in looking for ruins, in which case you can read all of the Latin text, I think, and get some context hints for some of it. And the other one is you could have been a thief of some sort who was hoping to find something valuable, and in that case you can run faster, which can be useful if, for example, you trigger the time loop far away from the door, because you kind of have to dodge stuff for the whole way you're back to the door to get through the time loop. So yeah, overall, there's not really a whole lot of music. Mostly it's environmental sounds and stuff. But yeah, overall, I would generally rate this game very highly. And I kind of wish I'd had more time to try to actually play it, or even that I hadn't, known how pretty much most of it goes first. But I suppose I have a more thorough knowledge from at least having seen most of the whole thing. I don't know. Do you guys have any questions? Because I feel like I've covered most of it.
I think I'm good.
I do have a question.
Yes.
What is the music like?
It's mostly environmental sounds and diegetic instrument stuff, except for there you get a little bit of pounding after the many will suffer for the sins of the one, after someone triggers the time loop.
Okay.
I kept the music down low generally, but yeah, there's not much of it. It's mostly just environmental sounds. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
So yeah, I think this is a quote unquote full price, i.e. about $20, right, on both platforms, or?
It is, the base is $25 on Steam. It's got the soundtrack option. It's got collector's DLC, which is not okay. It's digital collector's items that you can 3D print, a map and a plinth.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
3D printer files. That's not a common.
No,
I guess it's getting more common.
Yeah, first time I've seen this.
Yeah. Well, for the base game, I think $25 is actually fine. It has 4 different endings, although it's pretty easy to get other ones once you've gotten one of them, and the game actually kind of hints, once you've gotten one of the actual endings, it kind of hints at how you can get other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you'll get a good amount of experience out of this if like the idea of the setting is interesting to you at all,
Yep. All right, so that'll about do it for The Forgotten City. Be sure to tune in after the break, as we'll be doing Quake.